What's going on, Fast Turn Radio watchers, listeners, replay catchers? Bobby Miller, what's up? Yeah, that's right. Bobby is from the e-commerce, breaking e-commerce news, and always does a great job of tweeting about this show and anything going on in e-commerce. So rather than the typical gompers, he always gets his fist bump, but wanted to give a shout out and a fist bump to Bobby, just as a thank you. It's a small gesture, but thank you. I see all of your posts about us, and it's very much appreciated. So thank you, Bobby. And thank you to the now 22, 23 people that are joining us live. That is awesome. I appreciate you guys taking an hour or so out of your night. Hopefully I will give you some information, some tips, a little bit of coaching, and definitely a whole lot of numbers breakdown in tonight's show to make it worth your time. Of course, if you can't catch us live and you're listening on replay, you can listen on SoundCloud or you can watch on YouTube. Usually SoundCloud goes up same night, YouTube next day. I was terrible about that last week. Just a lot of things going on, and I forgot to post last week's show until this morning, but last week's show is up as well. So anyhow, thank you guys for being here. And let's check in with the chat room real quick. Michael Flanagan, thanks for joining us. Brandon Gompers, there he is. I got the sad face. Sorry, Gomps. Dude, Gompers always gets a fist bump, though. I talked to Gompers a little bit this week. That was cool. It's always good. It's always just good to talk with people. And I definitely had the pleasure of a visit from Mike Damrow, who came down Monday night, spent all day yesterday and part of the morning this morning with me, and we just kind of talked business. He just had an inkling to come down in a free flight, so came down and spent some time, and it was pretty cool to actually just spend a few hours one-on-one. No weirdness, no trying to hide and speak in generalities and all that. It was just like, let's talk about your business. Let's talk about my business. This is where I think you could improve. This is how I kind of do things. And just, that feedback and the whole just interaction that you don't get, whether it's on a computer or it's on a phone, those are good. But man, there's nothing like just face-to-face conversation. He came to the house, met my dog, saw my dirty messes, piles of stuff that are everywhere. But, that's life. And that's just the way it is. But very cool of Mike to come down. So appreciate you taking time out to come visit. And hopefully I gave you some information that can help you along the way. And of course, once you kind of have that relationship, that bond, it's just like, dude, anything you need, I'm here for you. So it's cool. If you guys ever get to network like that, do it. Dan and Eric are awesome. They're up in Kentucky, and they're always, hey, stop by the warehouse anytime. They are wide open. Sam Cohen up in New Jersey, stop by the warehouse. So lots of people willing to just welcome in anybody that wants to learn and needs some help or just wants to shoot the breeze. But so I had that opportunity with Mike, and it was very cool. Mindy, what's up, man? John Chartier. Mindy and John already starting. Dale Selmeyer was happening. Leron's here. And and if you stop by John Chartier, stop by his warehouse, bring donuts. I thought you shut down your warehouse. You can't keep up with John. John will change his mind. He'll open a warehouse today, he'll close it tomorrow, and he'll go open up a second one tomorrow or the day after. So whatever. All right. All the chit chat is out of the way. Let's get down to business. I had been talking last week about Profit First. I said I would finish the book by this week. I lied. I did not finish the book. I did get further into it. It's still an interesting concept to me. I still don't see exactly how it works with FBA. I've talked with some other people. Justin Wills and I chatted about it a little bit, and he made a post in Scanner Monkey that I think was awesome, and everybody should go read if you're in Scanner Monkey about his first Q1 in 2015 and his sales and what he thought he was doing for profit. Then he kind of backs that up with Q1 2016 and shows much better sales and much better profit, and more importantly, much better profit margins in this case, because he had thousands and thousands in sales and like hundreds in profit, and it just did not correlate. But you will see tonight, I am not a big profit margin ROI person, but in his case, it was very important to raise that margin. It was vital because when your business is new, you kind of do have to rely on that stuff. And you can, as your business grows older. I've kind of changed. I will definitely explain all that. But to finish up on the profit first stuff, okay, I'm not going to go over the whole system again and everything, but I started to tell you guys last week that I came up with this 15% for taxes, and I couldn't figure out exactly why or how it fit in. As soon as the show was over and I could sit back for a minute and go, well, how did I come up with that? I remember what it was. Our disbursement the last 2 weeks was $15,000 and change. And so I said, okay, if I take 15%, that's where that was the starting point. It wasn't the 700,000 or the million in sales. I started with the 15,000 in disbursement. That's why the system is just odd for our business. I don't know that it works. But I said, okay, $15,000 disbursement times 15% is $2,250, $2,250. That would be what we would set aside for taxes. Is that the right number? Well, if you take that and multiply it by 24, because there would be 24 disbursements throughout the year, that would be $54,000 that we set aside for taxes. In my mind, I think we're going to owe about $25,000 in taxes for last year. If we double our sales from last year to this year, that would put us in the $50,000 range for taxes. And so it kind of made sense, right? All sounds good. All that kind of lined up until this week, or last week happened and continued this week. And we're on our way to about a 32 to maybe 37. I don't think we're quite going to hit $40,000 disbursement. But now you can take those percentages and totally toss them out the window because it makes no sense. What makes perfect sense at one level doesn't make any sense at the next level. So I don't know how these percentages, I still just cannot wrap my mind around how a fixed percentage will work in an FBA business that is so in flux. But again, I have not finished the book. I could be missing something. But man, the more I think about it, the less I see how a set percentage in such a variable business can apply. Let's see. The disbursement is not net profit. No, the disbursement is not net profit. That's not what you're in the profit first. In the profit first business model, what they're talking about is paying taxes on the revenue, not the profit. Okay, so it's weird. If you haven't read it, you would have to read it to understand it. But yeah, they're talking about the net revenue is what you would pay the taxes based on, not the profit. Again, I don't know that I necessarily agree with it, but that's how I arrived at that number for last week. So I did want to kind of sum that up. Dale said that was like Chinese, what you just said. I'm sorry, man. It was that, I don't know if he's talking to me or if he was talking to Mindy, who said, I think the idea of putting aside money in the tax account is a good thing if you need that for comfort. Me personally, I look at it as sitting in an account waiting, not as earning money. I would rather invest in inventory till I need it. Yeah, there's that too. I'm not saying you can't do that. A lot of people budget within their own stuff. I don't budget at all. That's part of my problem. And I went through that thoroughly last week. I'm not going to get into it too much this week, but suffice it to say, I do not budget. And I need to do it. The extent of my budgeting is when I pay myself, I do set aside some in for taxes into another account. That's as far as I go with it. And that's not really much of a budget at all. Let's see. Julie says, I don't understand why you couldn't view your yearly profit / taxes figure percentages and then use that number on your payouts, because none of it's static. I can look back at the last 12 months. I can look back at March versus April, and my sales went from 50,000 to 70,000. The percentages all change within the margins. I can show you the first 3 weeks of April, and I will do that. I can show you the first 3 weeks of April that how they don't even come close to comparing to the last week of April. Stuff's all over the place. That's why, Julie. Not that I'm getting upset with you. It just, I have tried to nail this thing down, and I'm looking at it going, there's no way. This business is too up and down, and the percentages to me just don't work. As far as I can tell. Now, I'm not giving up on it. I am just, man, I'm not grasping it. I'm trying, but I'm not getting there. No, I'm not going to read that quote, but Dale, thank you, sir. Uh, one of my favorite quotes of all time. What was it? Billy Madison, I believe, was was the movie. That's awesome. Uh, Dong says, could you rough calculate your net profit as a percent of payout given your average ROI? No. And I'm going to show you guys this. This is what, oh man, I'm excited. Now you got me excited about tonight's show. Oh my God. I am going to show you exactly why this stuff is insane to me. All right. And it's exciting. John Stevenson says, I wasted several hours on it, but I think it's all my money and it's better invested in stock. That could be too. Dong, roughly right is better than precisely wrong. Ballpark, move on, not rocket surgery or science. Correct. I agree. And okay, Mindy's concern is that people will take out the profit and spend it on themselves rather than reinvesting profits in our business. Reinvesting profits is what allows us to grow rapidly. That being said, I don't think everyone needs to be able to look at their business monthly. And I know the previous month sales were and the net profit was. Yeah. Now they do say in the book that basically you're supposed to take out essentially half your profit. So your business makes $10,000 in profit for the quarter. You're going to take a quarterly dividend of 7,500 or 5,000. What did I say? 10,000. If it makes 10,000, you're going to take out 5,000 as your profit. You're going to leave 5,000 in there. I'll let you guys. I am not going to go any more into the system. I have not read the book thoroughly. I have not finished it. I'm just giving you an idea. So I can't really argue it intelligently one way or the other. I'm not even trying to make a biased decision. You know, I'm being totally unbiased in this. I am going through the process. You guys are watching me go through the process. It's just not coming together for me yet. Julie says, my tax is 15% of my yearly profit last year. So I am setting aside 15% of my profit this year. Even though I'm going to double my business, it will still be 15%. Okay. But as your profits go up and as your income goes up, your tax bracket will go up. Now, not on the same amount of money. We are in a Lord, now I'm going to open a whole another can of worms. We are in a progressive tax system. So that's cool if you're in the 15% tax bracket. But once you go over the 15, now you're going to start taking out 20% on the next set of numbers. And then you're going to go to 28% when you start making real money in this business, where I think we could all be very easily into the six figures. If you were running this business right, I think it's very easy once you have the capital to start pulling six figures. So you should be in that 28% tax bracket. And then it depends on, you know, some people are reinvesting everything and their business makes no profit, but it has huge growth. And others, yeah. Anyway, all right, I am not going to go into, I've already spent 15 minutes on it. Going to leave it there, guys. And everybody, yeah, Justin Willis, everyone's situation is different. What people need to take out is owner disbursements. And people need to understand their business and what is best for their situation. Well said, Justin Wills. I'm going to leave it at that. All right. But no, you guys, if it works for you, Julie, that's cool. And if I figure out something that works, that's fine too. I cannot sit here and off the top of my head try to debate it. It just isn't going to serve any purpose whatsoever. All right. So let me show you, though, tying into this, why I think it doesn't work very well. And at the same time, let me pull up. I'm not going to have a picture for you guys to see. I might be able to pull it up on my phone so you kind of see it. But I'm going to show you what yeah, here we go. Perfect. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see this. I don't know if it's going to blind you or not, but no, let's see. There we go. You see that? That's, I don't know if you guys can actually read that or if it's coming like a mirror, but that huge spike, that is 1 week, last week, where we did about twice as much as we had done and almost 3 times as much as any week prior in the same month. Okay. And the margins were smaller, but the profits were higher. It's in let me illustrate it right now. I'm going to take you to the screen share. So here is last month's breakdowns, okay? Let me click the actual share screen button. There we go. Okay, you guys see the little picture up there? Excuse me. This is what I spent about 4 hours breaking down for you guys because I wanted to give you exact numbers as far as gross profit. Now, this does not include anything other than our cost of goods minus, hang on just a second. Hang on just a second for me, guys. All right, my niece is out there working, had the music cranked a little bit, and I could hear it coming through. So sorry to be a little distracted there. Okay, so this is gross profits. This does not include anything other than our sales minus Amazon fees. Okay, it doesn't include inbound shipping, office supplies, taxes, employee pay, anything else that comes up as far as business expenses. Okay, this is just our gross profits for last month. We had total sales of $70,665.95. So basically $70,000. To get our total spend, now not to get to that, but our total spend for the month. And this is where things kind of don't always jive because, you know, what you spend in one month is not necessarily being sold that month and whatever. But anyway, oh, no, this is, I'm sorry. That's another thing. This is right. This is our total spend to get to that 70,000. It is. My brain went two different directions because I'm going to talk about something else in a minute. But yeah, our total spend was 33,700. And from that, we had product sales of 70,600. And then our profit was, oh, I don't have the cost of goods in there. I'm sorry. Let me try to get that for you real quick. The profit was 14,000, excuse me, 14,885. So Julie, I'm sorry, I left the cost of goods out on that little snapshot. No, the total, what we spent on those products was $33,000. So, okay, geez. See, this is what happens when I try to work off of a picture, answer questions. Let me take down the screen share. Let me get my actual spreadsheet back up here. Because the spreadsheet, I did not edit it down, so it's got everything on there, and I do not care to share my spreadsheet with you. No offense, but that's just not going to happen. But I do need to get this pulled back up. So yeah, the cost of goods would be the total spend. I just need to see the actual spreadsheet so that I know I'm giving you the right information. All right, who's hammering away on their keyboard? Now we're just losing all control. Yes, mute all. All right. Get this pulled up. Because I had it all, I have to break it all down by individual products, and then I have it all grouped together in different things along the spreadsheet. So that's why I have cost of goods in one and total spend in the other. And total spend is going to be the cost of goods. I am 99% certain, but I just need to look at this thing for myself so that I know that I am telling you the right thing. Yeah, so cost of goods is for individual items on this spreadsheet from what I'm showing you guys. Okay, so we'll put that back up. Let me get the screen share. Okay, so what I'm calling total spend is my total cost of goods, because this COG column that you see right here, that is per unit. And that's what I needed to get to the calculation of the total spend. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So this is the cost of goods sold. Okay, cost of goods sold, $33,735. Total sales, $7,665. Profit out of that after Amazon fees, $14,885. Profit margin, 21.1%. ROI is 44.1%. All right. Now, what I want to show you is you're saying if we go with our overall profits and we take averages and that good stuff, no way. No way. I don't see it happening, and this is why. The top 2 sellers, which I decided basically in the last week of the month to start selling, they made up 21,000 of the total 70,000. We spent 12,000 on that, right? So you spent 12,000, only sold it for 21. The profit was 3,000. Profit margin was 14.3%, and the ROI was 23.9%. Most people would go, that's awful. That doesn't work for me whatsoever. The profit margin's too low. The return on investment's too low. I don't want it. Personally, what I see out of that is $3,000 that I made on on those 2 products that I decided to start selling. But if you look at how those compare to the rest of the money, okay, so the rest of the sales were 49,000 on a 20,000, 21,000 cost of goods, profit of 11.8 or 11,800, 24% margin, ROI is 56%. Those 2 things are so drastically different. That's almost 2 different businesses right there. And that's why I don't see how applying a flat percentage is going to do it. Because if I lean more towards more products that are in these top 2 sellers, like I did the last week of last month, then my business is going to look totally different than if I go with what I was doing in the first 3 weeks, which is what you see prior to those top 2 sellers really hitting the market. So in the top 2 sellers, I ate up approximately 75% of my cost, or 75% of my money just went to the cost of goods, right? That would have to be my reinvestment under the profit first model. In this one, I could get away with about 50% of my cost of goods, or 50%, 50% being my operating budget of the payout and all that kind of stuff. The numbers are just all over the place. And I seriously do not see how this is going to line up depending on how you decide to run your business. And I may, when I find the right kind of products, I may jump all over stuff that sells like these top 2 sellers from last month that absolutely flew at terrible profit margins, at terrible ROI. But my God, I made $3,000 on those 2 products basically in a week. In the meantime, I made 11,000, maybe 12,000 across everything else. And we had 142 different SKUs that we sold. Okay. So 141 of them equaled this stuff down here. The other 2 equaled these up here. To me, it just depends how you want to run it, what kind of products you run into. And our disbursement, like I said, goes from 15,000 up to 30,000 and maybe even hits 40,000 by the time it's all said and done. The numbers just get way out of whack. And I am just not putting hard set percentages based on payouts, based on any kind of historical data, because it can all change in the blink of an eye. So that's the part I want to relate to the profit first, okay, is that drastic change. Secondly, while we're talking about this, I want to know in the chat room, let's see, how many people do we have live with us right now? That's down here. All right, we've got 37 people. So if we could get at least, I don't know, hopefully at least 10 of you are willing to answer. How many of you would be comfortable spending $13,000 to sell $21,000 worth of stuff and make $3,000? John Chartier says me. Julie says no. Randy Cart says yes. Mindy Bear says yes. Matt Kelly, yes. Mindy Lipschitz, depends on how fast it turns. Dude, I'm telling you, it sold in a week. Did it in a week. No joke, no lie, no BS. Did it in a week. All right. Corina Stevenson, absolutely. Sell in a week, yes. Spend $14,000 for $1,500 profit in a week. Maybe. Okay. See, I'm surprised. And I guess maybe it's easier once you look back and you go, oh, that's what happened. Now, keep in mind, I threw $13,000 out there going, I hope this flies. I hope this works the way I expect it to. Because I've asked questions like this before, and I asked one just not too long ago. I said, who would buy a product like this? And it was very similar to both of these products, where I said, would you spend $25 to make 5? Which, guys, look, that's what we're talking about. This is even worse than that. I said, would you spend 25 to make 5? And people said, and I said, you could sell 50 a day. People said, I don't know about that. No, that's not good enough for me. That's no. Hey, I'm looking at a 14% profit margin. This is horrible. Looking at 23% ROI. That's terrible, right? But now you guys are like, well, it kind of looks good on paper. And that's where I want you to get past some of these, one of the roadblocks that I thought about tonight. One of the roadblocks is we set ourselves up with this whole, I've got to make at least a $5 profit. I've got to make at least 50% ROI. I've got to make at least a 20% profit margin. When you start to box yourself in, you start to eliminate some very good possibilities out there. All right. Now, Justin. All right. Justin, I'm going to argue with you for a minute. Just let me, John Chartier says, spend $4,000 to make 80 cents profit 200 plus times a day. So yes, I will do yours. Justin says no, because that 3K isn't profit. You haven't factored in supplies, wages, software, subscriptions, internet. The margins are too thin for me personally. When do you factor that in? In your entire business, okay? People say, well, what's your profit? You got to take it out of here. You got to take it out of there. That's not your profit. That's not your profit. And Justin, I'm giving you a little bit of a hard time, but I like you, buddy. My God, the profit is $14,000 altogether. It's $14,885. It's a little bit of this. It's a little bit of that. It all comes together. And yes, all those expenses come out of there. They definitely do. But I'm not paying for all of my employees' salary out of that $3,000. I'm not paying for all of my supplies out of that $3,000. Now, maybe I could. Maybe there is no profit in that. That's another way to look at it. Maybe there's no profit at all. Maybe I took that $3,000 and I funded everything else so that this $11,800 is pure profit. I paid my taxes, I paid my employees, I paid for my boxes, I paid for my shipping. Everything came out of that $3,000. So the rest is 100% profit. Does that? I mean, I just don't understand that line of thinking. I honestly don't. Where you go, well, that's not really profit. Well, of course it is. It absolutely is. That is the profit on that part of the sale, just like the $12,000 is the profit on the other part of the sale. So, like I said, Justin, I love you, buddy, but man, you got me a little fired up there, because yes, that is profit. It absolutely is profit. It is part of the overall profit, but and if it doesn't work for you, I totally respect that. And I think a lot more people, had I given the scenario prior to showing the results, I think more people probably would say no than that have said yes in the chat room, because I've already taken the risk out. I think that's the big thing missing when you see the results, but you don't see what leads up to it. I was the one that was willing to throw out $13,000 to try to make 3. You get to say, oh, that worked out? Yeah, I would take that. So it does make it easier that way. And John Chartier says, Dwayne, can we get the ASIN? Mindy throws an ASIN out there, and Matt Kelly said, hold on, I'll get it for you. Yeah, and Michael, that's exactly what I'm saying. Remember that Dwayne is just scrolled up on me. I'm sorry. Remember, Dwayne is saying that you would take the deal with the results, no risk. And Justin, dude, if you've got a camera and a mic, rather than us type back and forth or me talk to you and then read your response, I'd love to have you on. I got no problem discussing this. I think it's an awesome topic. But he says, I won't get into it all again. It doesn't work for my business. Totally respect that. If it works for each of yours, that's cool. There are definitely different scenarios that I would do it. I just wouldn't do it in my business right now. It makes 0 sense to use my money on things that that make a less profit than items I am currently spending money on. All right, now I read that. Is that, Justin, are you on here? Yes. Okay, let me take off the screen share. I'm excited now. All right. Let me get back down. Stop screen share. Justin, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
What's up, Dwayne?
Hey. So I hope I wasn't too hard on you. You got me excited, though. You got me fired up. I appreciate that. The show needs that. So go ahead. I'm going to give you the mic. Tell me your side of this.
First off, I've never been on one of these, so can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you're coming through a little choppy, but that's just, you're fine. Just go ahead and talk. We'll figure out what you're saying.
Okay. I mean, for me, it's just not an argument. I mean, to me, it can work for you or it can't work for you. I think there's a right answer both ways. I don't think you can say a blanket statement that, hey, everybody should buy it, or no, everybody shouldn't. No. When I say no, not for me, I definitely don't mean that it's not for everybody. It's just, if you've got $40,000, for example, to spend on inventory, and you can spend that $40,000 and make higher profit margins than what that opportunity gives you, it would be foolish to take less margins than what you're getting currently. Right now, I don't have the extra capital to put towards lower margins. If I was in a different stage of my business, if I was struggling to find inventory during this period, then yeah, I mean, I'm not going to turn down free money. It's still free money at the end of the day. But to say that, you know, you're going to turn down X amount of dollars for the next year by turning down this offer, it isn't true, because you got to factor in the opportunity cost of what else you could do with that money. If you could make higher margins with that money, then you're losing money by taking that deal. So to me, it's not for everybody. It's just not for me right now in my business.
Okay, you make an excellent point. That is actually an excellent point. That's something I did not cover. Somebody threw it out there. I'm not sure who exactly said it, but honestly, I was sitting on a pile of cash. You make a fantastic point. I was sitting on money that wasn't being spent. So to me, it really was extra money, because I had several tens of thousands of dollars just sitting in the account going, man, it's gotta do something. I've got this inventory, I've got that inventory, but now I've got this opportunity and I've got the money. You are absolutely correct, and I agree that if you have better opportunity at higher ROI or just higher returns, period, I don't care what phrase you want to use, if you could make more money buying something else with that same amount of investment, then do that. And if you can sell it in the same amount of time, then obviously, yes, that is a no-brainer to do. I was sitting on a pile of cash. I needed to move it, or didn't need to, but I decided I wanted to move it. I was like, there's no reason for me not to essentially cash in $13,000 and get $3,000 hopefully back. That was, what I was shooting for. I was happy with the results. So that money comes back in a couple of weeks. I'm okay with that. You make an excellent point, and I'm so glad you came on, and you did a great job. Much appreciated. I actually had the conversation about these top two products that I'm talking about. I talked with Mike Damrow about. Mike, please don't tell anyone. Keep it between us, buddy. You can tell Kim, that's it. But no, I talked to him, and he's in a different situation. And I said, no, by no means should you buy these products. There's no way. You are in a different situation. So again, I am glad you came on, Justin. Dude, you blew me away. Awesome point. I guess I had it in my mind because I know what my situation is. And John, that's another good point. In the chat room, John said daily payouts make it even easier. Yes, daily payouts, so you don't have to sit on that 2-week return, would be fantastic. That's unfortunately I don't have that, so I do have to wait for the money to come back. But okay, Michael Flanagan, let's get his thoughts because he's a smart guy. He said, if you read the posts in many of the groups, you will hear people saying that they can't find enough profitable inventory to sell. These are the people that this needs to get through to. If you are passing on deals like this one, and keeping your money in the bank, you are making a mistake. Yes, and that's the situation I was in, and this is going to take me to my second roadblock. So the first roadblock that people kind of get is not really a roadblock. They trap themselves into this little, I've got to make this certain ROI, I've got to make this profit margin. I've got to make this minimum profit number, whether it's $5, $10, whatever. You know, once you corner yourself in to this is the only kind of product and I'm going to put the blinders on, you're doing yourself a disservice. You really are. So please try to break out of that mindset a little bit to where you start to look at actual profit numbers, money you can make on money that is otherwise not being used, and it can be powerful. The other roadblock that I hear, and it plays right into this, is exactly what we're talking about. I can't find enough inventory, and I've got money sitting at the end of 2 weeks, at the end of a month. I still spend the same $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $30,000. I mean, I've heard these numbers, same scenario, different numbers throughout all the stages, whether people have $5,000 in the bank, $50,000 in the bank, or $100,000 in the bank. I've heard the same scenario where they say, I can't find enough inventory. If you can't find enough inventory, you're not trying anything new, first of all. You're getting stuck in your rut, whether it's RA, OA, private label, wholesale, whatever your sourcing method is. My guess is you are totally stuck in that sourcing method. And so one thing to do is get beyond what you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable at RA and you know you can do RA, at least set aside a little bit of time to try some wholesale, try some OA, online arbitrage lists, or if you have enough money and you want to just go buy some lists just to get some ideas of other stores to source and that kind of stuff for online arbitrage, I think that's an okay idea. I don't like seeing people with small budgets spending $100 or $200 a month on a list. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not a great choice. John Stevenson says, join Threads and Treads. Thank you, John. But yeah, Threads and Treads, if you have a bigger budget. But if if you've only got a couple $1,000, Threads and Treads is not the right place for you. You spend $100, you got $1,900 now. Trying to source clothing and shoes with a couple $1,000 is not going to work too well. It's very cash intensive sort of thing. So, sorry, my phone's dinging. August is just lighting up the PMs. So it definitely depends on what kind of situation you're in as far as what you're going to spend your money on. But if you are finding, regardless of what your budget is, that you are not spending all your money each month, please understand you have to do, I would say, two things differently. One, you have to find a different source. And two, you have to stop looking at 50%, 40% ROI type numbers and just start looking at hard, fast profit. How much can I make if I buy this product and how quickly can it turn? And that's where this whole show is fast turn radio, right? It all goes back to the fast turns. There is no faster turn that I've found. And I don't know, that stuff that I'm selling sells as fast as anything I've ever sold. It's awesome. And how long will it be awesome? I don't know. I've sold things like it in the past that had a 1 or 2 month span. I've had it, last 6 months. It'll die at some point. Enough people will go, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I see what you're talking about. And they'll go jump on it. And, the price will probably go down because the market gets flooded. It's just what happens. But you look for the next thing. But keep an eye out for those opportunities. And if you, one person told me they made basically no buying errors. They went through their last month sales, and they had no losses on anything. I went through mine. I had somewhere between, I think, 7 and 10 items that I took a loss on that I sold last month. Right out of the 70,000 in sales, there were probably 10 items that I said, forget it, just get rid of the crap. I made a bad buy. It stinks. I don't want the money tied up any longer. I'm going to take it. I'm going to roll it into some of this other stuff. And that actually is, that leads me to a whole other thought, which is Anna Hill and I were talking today. I had the pleasure of speaking with her on the phone. And she said, one place that I see people get caught when their cash flow dries up is I'll ask them how much dead inventory they have. And, they'll be amazed at how much dead inventory. And I am going to have Anna on next week. So you guys want to catch next week's show. We're going to talk about this stuff more in depth. But the flip side is you got dead inventory. You should have some dead inventory, in my opinion. You really should, because that means you took a risk. And it means you were wrong, but you took a shot at some point to spend some money. If you don't have any dead inventory, you're not taking enough risks. Now, I don't want you to have, $50,000 worth of dead inventory. That's horrible. But all right. John says, I have no dead inventory. John, if you don't, that's cool. And if you're happy with your numbers, that's great. Now, if you don't have any dead inventory, to me, you are just not risking enough. And if you're sitting on money and you're wondering, why can't I spend it all? Dude, get out there and try some new stuff. Go to a new store that you've never gone to. Try a new category that you've never sold in before. If you have money just sitting, you need to do something differently. You've got those blinders on. There's something that is holding you back. And if we were doing a one-on-one coaching call, I would dig into what you're doing day to day. Mike and I talked this morning. He said, what would you do if you were in my position? I know exactly what his budget is. I know his main way of sourcing. And I told him, I said, I would go this direction. And I think it works for you. And I would take this percentage of your budget. And that's what I would focus on. And that's what I had to do for myself, guys. The reason I can tell you to try this stuff is because it's what I've done and it's what I've had success with. It's how I've made money. I had literally tens of thousands of dollars sitting in the bank. And I said, I cannot just sit on this, even if the return is not what I typically go after. Let me throw it out there and see what happens. And I threw it out there and I went, that's awesome. I'm going to do a lot more of that. And I am thrilled right now with the prospects of what the next 2 to 4 weeks look like, and maybe longer. I don't know. We'll see how long the ride lasts. But all right. I saw some good chat going on. So that's kind of my get past your roadblock speech that I wanted to give to you guys. Try something new. If you're at an impasse, figure out what it is that's got you locked down. Get out of your comfort zone. Mindy, let's see. No, they're just talking credit cards. All right, Michael Flanagan. I think there are people who would say that they rather make $50,000 income at 50% profit margin than make $100,000 at 20%. All I care about is how much do I get to keep at the end of the year, and how hard did I have to work to make it? Exactly. Yes, I agree with that, Michael. And Julie agreed with it as well. Yeah, I don't care if I don't care what my percentages and my margins are. I don't, guys. And it's funny. Carla Blake, I believe, in Scanner Monkey, asked the question about profits. And she said, what are your profits? And she's an accountant. She was trying to break it way down. I'm not breaking my stuff that far down until I absolutely have to, and I have to file my taxes. I don't do that stuff monthly. But it's funny. I always say my gross margins run in about the 17 to 22% range. Okay, that is my gross margin simply after my cost of goods or my gross profits after cost of goods and Amazon fees are taken out. Okay, gross profit. I say it always runs between about 17 and 22%. Then I have to take away my business expenses and salaries and all that good stuff and taxes. And of course, it lowers it down further. But I've been saying that if you go back, you can listen to any Spreecast or Zoom that I've done, and I've always used that 17 to 22%. And what do? I hammer down, and I was doing like 10 and 15,000 in sales when I started doing Spreecast and talking about those same percentages. I do know my profit margins will typically wind up in the 17 to 22% range. Now that is a pretty wide range when you're talking actual dollars and you apply it to sales and all that. But it just kind of stuck out at me that for all the time that I've ever said that, sure enough, I do last month's numbers and it comes out to 21.1%. It's where that stuff falls. And I find that kind of intriguing. Now, the part that got me is when that week last week and those top 2 sellers that went off at 14% margin. And out of everything else I did last month, those are the ones I fell in love with. Absolutely love those. But so to Carla Blake, if you happen to get word of this Zoom and I enjoyed the thread. I read through it. I didn't comment on it because I didn't have any numbers to share with anyone because, as you know, my books are a mess right now. But I did do last month's numbers. Sure enough, came out 21.1% profit margin. Let's see. Okay, Thompson says, not sure how this is germane to the conversation, but I'm a bit confused about competing with Amazon. I'm seeing sellers with ratings well over 50,000 who are on many, many listings that Amazon is on. I can see from Jungle Scout that Amazon is consistently in stock on these products, yet these big sellers are still on the listings, many times have a lot of stock. How are they competing? Thompson, I can't answer the question. I avoid most things that Amazon is on unless I get like super markdown liquidation prices where I know when they come back at their regular price, I can compete with them then. If these mega sellers are on there, my guess is they can just afford to take the chance and let it hang out there. But I have no idea how in the world you would compete with Amazon consistently. Mindy says Amazon shares the buy box. He competes with Amazon all the time. So there you go. Mindy competes with them. I tend not to. If they share the buy box, that's cool. Usually they're playing at margins that or they're playing at prices that I can't compete with because I got to give them 15% of my money up front, right? I mean, you have to buy so well to compete against Amazon that it is very hard to do on a regular basis. But if you see somebody coming in heavy, my guess is they got a huge liquidation deal because you are not buying at wholesale and competing with Amazon. I do not believe that. They are able to, well, like I said, you have in most categories a 15% built-in hedge against them or deficit against them because you're going to have to pay 15% that they don't. All right, Mindy's saying I buy wholesale and compete with Amazon. There you go. Thompson, go ask Mindy. That's my best answer. All right. Amazon sometimes doesn't share with me. Bob Willie says I compete with Amazon daily and do well. There you go. Talk with Bob Willie. I don't compete with Amazon. I have no desire to compete with them. The only time I will is usually when I buy from them, like I said, at liquidation pricing. And then I'll come back against them, usually at their own MSRP, and that's okay. But, all right. So we ran through some of the numbers, some different scenarios. We are going to have, like I mentioned, Anna Hill on next week, and I am looking forward to that because she's going to help me get some of my books in order. I don't know if it's not, no, I will say this. It is not going to happen before next week. My accountant and bookkeeper are finally working on that stuff. So I will have the numbers at some point. I'm going to work with Anna to get everything squared away, but she's going to be on to kind of discuss what we need to do to start to have our business in proper shape. And the one thing that came out of the Profit First book that I really liked and that I absolutely loved is the healthy business reference. Okay. They said, if you are, if you take our assessment and if you do our program, you're going to have a healthy business. Well, I don't think you necessarily have to do their program. I think the assessment is great. It's great to ask those questions. Again, I'm not 100% sold or against Profit First. The more I read into it, the less I see how it's going to work, but I'm trying. But I do like the idea of a healthy business. So we're going to have Anna on. She's going to answer any of your questions about what a healthy business really looks like, how to get that, how to do some of the basic accounting. Because I was scared to death when I talked to her today. Going into it, I was like, man, Anna is a CPA. She's going to want to know when I buy a pair of shoes, when I sold that pair of shoes, and track that data all through my QuickBooks. And then if it gets returned, it's got to be noted somewhere else and this and that. And I was like, she is going to have me doing so much stuff. It's going to have me frazzled and probably, honestly, irritated, and I'm not going to do any of it. And I talked to her, and I told her straight up that was kind of my fear, is that she was going to want too detailed information. And she said, no, not at all. That is not what we're trying to do. Essentially, I'm going to paraphrase that doing most, she may shoot me if I misphrase this, but doing most of it right is better than not doing anything at all, right? So she's going to try to help us who are not accountants just try to understand our businesses a little bit better, because again, that is the part of the discussion that came out of Profit First that I really want people to grasp onto is you need to start having a plan, especially as you grow. And that's the problem that I ran into was I grew faster than I was able to keep up with. So I just focused on growing and I said, hey, the books will take care of themselves. Well, guess what? The books don't take care of themselves. And I let it go. It was a bad idea. And now I'm playing catch up with it. But anyhow, please join us next week for the conversation with Anna. I'm really looking forward to it. She is a sharp lady, lots of great information. And, you know, whether you're using a bucket system or the YNAB, you need a budget software or something in between, even GoDaddy type software or Inventory Lab, as long as you have some numbers somewhere, she can help you out. So that's what she's going to be on for, is to talk about that. She also has a webinar tomorrow at 2 p.m. So you may want to catch that, where she's going to give you some of the rundown, and then we're going to kind of pick up that conversation a little more next week. All right. A couple more things going on in the chat room. Bob Willie says, I don't buy items where Amazon tanks the price, only items that are profitable. I buy from Amazon when they tank the price, but that's just me. And it's rare, but I do it. Julie, they came on to one of my wholesale products, didn't share, and I had to liquidate it. When they stopped matching me, they raised their price again when I was out. Oh, that's nice. They drove you off the product. That's awesome. Mindy says, in choosing clothing, never try competing by dropping price. They will just follow you down, but I will follow them down. So if I buy to compete with them, I need higher than expected initial ROI to leave room to drop for the following. That's true. Yeah. That is the only way to compete with Amazon, in my opinion, is to buy at somewhere between a quarter and a third of whatever their regular selling price is, because boy, they are willing to cut way down from where they're at. I promise. They have no qualms with following you down. So for me personally, if I'm going to go against Amazon, I'm going to come in at a cost somewhere between a quarter and a third, or better if I can, of whatever their current selling price is, expecting them to be able to at least cut in half and not bat an eye at it. All right. So last thing, I almost forgot. Brett, you almost let me forget, man. Brett Kyle asked a question in Fast Turn Radio, and I probably should have left that up, but I didn't. Roughly said, okay, I didn't go over my spending. Let me go over spending super quick with you guys. And then that'll lead into Brett's question, and then that'll be the end of the show. Let me bring up. That's not the one I need. Bear with me, guys. I apologize. Trying to get my spending folder open just to give you guys some idea, because this plays right into his question. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to do the summaries, not get into it really all that deep. In January, we spent $35,000. Okay, and I said I wanted to spend $40,000 a month. In February, we spent $30,000. In March, we spent $26,000. In April, we spent $68,000. Okay, hear those numbers again: 35, 30, 26, 68. Brett's question was, how do you increase your spending in organization, systems, efficiency, that kind of thing? How do you make it so you can spend that much more money in the same amount of time? Here's my answer, Brett. I sourced differently. The exact same thing that I talked about with the roadblocks. I went, okay, if I am sourcing this way, whether it's wholesale, RA, OA, it doesn't matter in whatever your situation is. For me, I was more wholesale and OA accounted for about half of my, each of those accounted for about 80% of my spending. And then I was maybe somewhere between 10 and 20% on RA. Well, that $68,000 that we spent And I'm glad that this question came up in a chat that I had with Michael Flanagan, because now I can just refer back to it instead of running those numbers again. I can just read it off to you. What we did was I went from being, say, 40% wholesale and 40% OA and 20% RA. We switched it. That 68,000 was 26. It was 90%, 92%. There you go. That's what I was trying to figure out. 92% of our total spend was between wholesale and OA. So what I did was I lowered the RA. I did less running around to the stores, and I increased what I was doing from the computer. It is much easier to buy in bulk when you're sitting at a computer than it is to go to the store and hope that they have all the products that you want or need, or that you're going to find enough. So again, how do you organize and how do you become more efficient? You change your method. If you find that it takes you an hour to go to the store to buy something, maybe you spend an hour researching a wholesale site, or you spend an hour researching a retail site for some online opportunities. And then when you find those opportunities, you trust the numbers. Once you're comfortable with different categories, different sell-through rates, that kind of stuff, and the ranks and what they mean, when you see those opportunities and they present themselves, you buy, and you buy deep, and you spend a lot of money on it, and you hope that it works out. And that's kind of what I was able to do. I focused less on one segment. I increased the other, and I saw when something was what I wanted, I grabbed it, and I went at it hard. So that's my best explanation. It's not that all of a sudden I came up with this brand new system and I got all organized and it made everything more efficient. Now, I will tell you this, one thing that I've done, and it's very simple for most of you, but I'm terrible with email. I've started to organize my email, and I found that that's made dealing with my wholesale reps and getting the information that I need to and from them much easier. You know, when I have a folder that is set up for XYZ rep, and I'm having communications back and forth with them, I don't have to search. I used to just leave everything in my inbox and go find it. That was horrible. So I've started to organize a little bit, but that's really not the key that let me jump from spending the 26,000 to 68,000. It was me going, there's tens of thousands of dollars sitting here and it needs to be spent, and here's a great opportunity for me to spend it. And I did it. So will that opportunity be there, like I said, 2 weeks from now or a month from now? Who knows? But it was there now, and I jumped all over it. So that's, again, my best advice is if you are stuck and you are failing to grow, do something differently. You've got to. And if you don't know what to do, that's where having a mentor, that's where having the pay it forward, Scanner Monkey Pay It Forward. That's a 30-minute call that you can jump on with Mindy, who is in the chat room, with Michael Flanagan, with Bob Willie. There was a list of like 75 people, I believe, that said, yeah, I'll give you 30 minutes of free coaching, essentially, or free whatever it is you need. Take advantage of those pay it forward opportunities. Scanner Monkey is a great community for bringing people together. Use that and say, hey, I'm stuck. I need help. What would you do in my situation? What do you think I should do with this situation? That's what Jay set up for everybody. And I hope that you took advantage of it. My schedule is now full. I still have to do my calls. I can't take anyone else, but maybe there's an outside chance that there's somebody that still is available that you can talk to, and get out of that mindset of this is what I do every day. So I've got to go add, I've got to create a whole new system. It's not adding a new system. It's just trying something new. Instead of doing RA for 4 hours, go do it for 3 hours and spend an hour on the computer researching something else. That kind of stuff is all I've done. I just, instead of going to the store as much, I said, all right, I'm going to shift my focus over here and network. Oh my God, I talk about networking all the time because you can't do it all yourself. Network with other people, because when they find something, they'll share it with you. If you find something, share it with them. When they find something, they'll share it with you. And now there's 2 of you doing that, or there's 3 or 4 of you, and you're finding different deals and you're bringing them back. And if they're good enough for the group, and having 4 people on it, 4 additional people isn't going to crush it, or 5 or whatever the number is. Then share that information and help each other out. So that becomes another very powerful tool to use. All right. So Mindy, all right. Now that the chat's scrolling, it was frozen for me for a minute. I thought everybody just stopped talking. All right. So went way too far back. There's the whole wholesale thing. All right. Oh, Dale said, Dwayne, touch on the repricer. Did I touch on the repricer at all tonight? No, I did not. That I did not touch on. Yeah, apparently Amazon has an auto pricer. It's a repricer. I forget what they call it. Auto pricing, I think. Whew. Guys, man, one of the great things about repricers are they're expensive typically. So it kind of makes you do your own manual repricing, and you see the numbers, and you get to know the Amazon fees and all that kind of stuff, so that when you go in to use a repricer, you understand how to set it up. Now Amazon's just going to make it free for everybody, and my fear is that people are going to be setting it up and they have no idea. They're going to be new sellers with no clue how to set up a repricer, and they're going to go haywire. And man, it's going to be a little bit ugly, I believe. But we'll see what happens. Gary Nolan, Dwayne, have you seen any returns on that 69,000? Returns in what? You mean like profits on that 69,000? That was a lot of what I just covered with the. That was a lot of what I covered for the last week of April, and then I'll see a lot more of it as we go into May. That's because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that inventory that is still making its way into the warehouse. All right. Mindy said I would call their repricer race to the bottom. Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. It's looking ugly. Bob Willie, Amazon wants a price way down to be the cheapest price on the planet. Might not be too good. Even more sellers going to the poorhouse. I agree. Yeah, everybody's kind of seeing it the same way, which is, man, if you don't know how to handle a repricer and you just set that thing up, you set it up wrong, you can cause a crash quick. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. And no, Amazon definitely does not want us raising prices. That is for sure. They do want to be the lowest price point place. They want to be able to beat everybody and have customers come straight to them first, knowing that they're getting the best deal out there. So, yeah, I'm not excited about it. That's for sure. But all right, it is now after 9 o'clock, so we're a little bit past the hour mark. Thank you to the, 35, 40 people that hung out the entire time. I appreciate it. Again, Justin Wills, awesome of you to come on, man. You made just some fantastic points and some stuff that I didn't give the background on. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. And you are certainly welcome on anytime, sir. And thank you guys for all the input, the conversation. Much appreciated. We will be back next week with Anna Hill at 8 o'clock Wednesday night. So we look forward to having you guys there. You don't want to miss that. That's going to be kind of your financial organization. If you guys want to talk cost of goods versus cost of goods sold, Julie, we can do that. And anything else you guys want to talk about, we'll see if we can get that stuff all squared away. Julie's throws me off in the middle of my trying to keep things straight, talking about there's a difference between the two. Yes, there is. But, man, you threw me off. All right. But it was good times. Guys, thank you all so much for being here. I can't wait to talk to you again next week. Hopefully, again, you got some good information. Appreciate you being here live. Thank you to those listening on SoundCloud and watching on YouTube. If there's anything I can do for you between now and next week, let me know. Hit me up. And until then, you guys take care and have a good night.